You know, contrary to popular belief, and this is something that I've had a few people on social media DM me about, and I've had some friends ask me about as well too, privately as well when hanging out with them. Um, a lot of people have kind of wondered what's my thoughts on musicals. Well, believe it or not, I actually like musicals. You may not believe this, but yeah, I have a little bit of a history involving actually like growing up going to some musicals with my family in the past. And even with friends and stuff in the past. And I actually do enjoy going to a Broadway style musical play or stage or show and getting tickets and sitting in those nice seats and watching the people on stage perform and sing and belt their hearts out to no content and get really immersed in character. And you know when the story and the music and the performance is really good, I really enjoy it. There are some that I don't like and there are some that I do like. So, and when adapting a lot of those musicals into film, right? The center point of these film adaptations is at that point you are not focusing on categorizing and critiquing and judging a film based on its normal criteria. You're judging it based on how well it lends itself to that musical performance, to the performance of those characters, to how they perform the songs, the movements, the stunts, the choreography, all of that. You're now in a completely different ballpark altogether, right? And that's the thing is with musical film adaptations, there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of ones too. Some of my favorites include La La Land, The Greatest Showman, and even the cult classic Rent. So I still have, 1,199. You know the song, but point is, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how I had a very wicked good time at Cinergy because I went and saw, well, the movie Wicked. Which, this is also kind of a interesting episode of Movie Time and Crash because it's also technically an episode of Remember the Time, too. So, I guess this is kind of both in a weird way. So, I don't know. I'll smash cut to the intro somewhere in this episode at some point.
Remember the time.
Remember the time?
Remember the time.
Hey, remember that time?
Remember the time?
Remember the time?
Hey, remember that time?
Hey, remember the time?
Hey, remember that time? Remember that there time?
Do you recall the occasion?
Remember that time?
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of both. It's a movie time to crash and I remember the time. So, but yeah, no, I went and saw Wicked. Sorry, Wicked Part 1. I know, minor spoilers, but let's be honest. When you're adapting a musical as big as this into film with the sheer amount of scope, production, choreography, planning, I would assume licensing, casting, yeah, it's going to be a two-parter. That's not really a spoiler, if you will, but yeah, it's a two-parter. So, but how was part 1 fare? Well, part 1 was actually a lot of fun. So, I liked the film quite a bit. I will emphasize that point here in a moment, but I will explain why. But I liked the film quite a bit. And going to Cinergy Entertainment was actually fun because thanks to my sponsorship and ambassadorship with Cinergy Entertainment, I got invited to a special VIP Elite Members event for Wicked Part 1. And it was actually pretty interesting, to say the least. I was pleasantly surprised. They had like a, a little place where you could take photos for like a photo booth prop, as you saw with the thumbnail of this episode. Or this video, rather. Episode? Video? Video. And I also got a cool hat that I got to wear throughout the film, like a wizard hat, which I officially now have, somewhere in my little prop closet. So one of these days I'll use it for something. I think that'd be fun. We got to enjoy some food specials and drinks. And I even got to do a little trivia, try and win some free movie tickets. And honestly, I even got to see the film a day or two early. But what was interesting for me, and the reason why this is sort of a much longer movie review compared to the others, is I have not seen the Wicked Broadway musical, or the actual like theater production, if you will. I've never seen it live. And as weird as it's going to sound, I'm not very big into the mythos of the Wizard of Oz, if you will. It's quite literally not my cup of tea. So because of that, I was like, well, I can't really judge this based on like me being a fan of Wizard of Oz, because I just think the original film is all right. It's decent. It's good, but it's not my favorite, right? But like I had to judge it based on it being a musical, right? And I had to judge it based on, it not just being a film, but because of, what I said earlier, you kind of have to now judge this in a very different ballpark. So, and to my surprise, I liked it. A lot of the musical numbers themselves are pretty solid. I specifically, and I have a tab up just so I'm saying the names correctly, I specifically like Cynthia's performance as Elphaba, right? Elphaba to me really was the center of the show. And her moments to shine, her moments to sing, her moments to really belt out all those performances were really strong, really emotional, very, very beautiful, right? And this film's got a pretty solid cast. It's got Cynthia in there, it's got Jonathan Bailey, it's got Jeff Goldblum, it's got Peter Dinklage, it's got Ariana Grande, which that's gonna be my one probably negative with this review, is I really did not care for Ariana Grande's performance with this film, right? I really, really was not just... I hate to say it, and I'm probably one of the few people, or if not, maybe I'm part of the majority that says this, but I felt her performance as the character in the first half kind of get a little grating, because I cared more about Elphaba's journey, right? And how she became the Wicked Witch of the West. How she had this supposed to be an origin movie about her specifically, and kind of about like her journey, right? And I was invested more into that than I was some of the other characters. So now, not that all the other actors and actresses didn't perform well. Again, I loved Jeff Goldblum's performance and Peter Dinklage's performance, but I have kind of a weird rule with films, and this also applies to musicals a little bit too. Let me explain. And again, bear with me. This episode's going to be a little longer than 10 minutes. I'm sorry. But I have a working theory that you can have a film, right, with probably the most wild, just crazy set of cast members, right? It could be action, musical, comedy, drama, romance, spoof, whatever, right? And it could have the most out of nowhere cast, but if the script and the direction and the director and the whole team really commit to the bit, right? Commit to the characters, commit to the scenes, commit to the theme of a film, then the performance of those people should be able to carry the film itself, right? So the film would have been just as good, if not great, if you like had, you know, anybody else as any other character in working theory. And this doesn't just work with Wicked also. This works for like all films. Like everyone sees Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds because it's a perfect fit. But what if there was an alternative timeline where Ryan Reynolds wasn't Deadpool, but in fact, let's say it was some other actor, right? Still probably would have worked fantastically. But we're not in that timeline, is the point. So back to Wicked. The point is, I really, really enjoyed most of everyone's performances because, again, with this being a musical, you kind of have to, and me especially, you kind of have to bend that rule a little bit because you're not judging this based on it being just a film. You're judging it based on their performances because it's a musical adaptation. You're judging based on how well they sing, how well they act, how well they perform, how well they get the character, how loud they belt out their performances, how, you know, the baritones, the notes, the everything, right? Everyone does a great job, but I just really did not care much for Ariana Grande's performance. And I know that's such a long-winded way of saying that, but like it's true. Everyone else did such a great job in this film. And it's not just, again, the musical parts of it, right? The story itself definitely kept me intrigued and interested to see where it wanted to go, right? The characters themselves and some of the comedy and dialogue were pretty snarky and pretty lighthearted and pretty funny. So I didn't like laugh out loud, but I caught myself actually chuckling a few times in the theater. And I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. They're acknowledging all this, right? And on top of that, like a lot of the story itself carries, and how much of the journey you really do see, you know, Cynthia and Ariana's characters go through. So, because at the end of the day, this movie isn't necessarily about, you know, Dorothy or, you know, the Lion, the Witch, and, you know, the Tin Man, and, you know, going to see Oz and all that. It's really more about a self-discovery journey than it is about like an actual like destination, if you will. Yeah, it's part of it, but that's not the main focus. For this being a part one, I really did like this film for the most of the cast, right? A lot of the character interactions, a lot of the musical performances, a lot of the high energy that this film really did have. A lot of the setup of the journey itself and the actual adventure that they went through getting to, the Emerald City. And honestly, being in an environment like Cinergy Entertainment, where I got to be in a packed, and I mean this, packed theater with a bunch of musical heads wearing wizard hats, snacking on, goodies, and answering trivia and being part of that fandom, even for just a little bit, was super fun and super entertaining. And it's because of Cinergy Entertainment that I was able to do this, and it was great. This is a fantastic, fantastic part one, right? But minus some issues. Again, Ariana Grande's performance, I really could have just cared less, if I'm being honest. I felt like the film could have trimmed down the runtime maybe a little bit. Like, there's some scenes that are in there for, tension and dramatic effect. And I get it, it's a musical. It's got to be a bit longer because of the songs and performances. But there's some scenes, too, where I'm like, I feel like this is just padding at that point. And the only other negative I could really say, because, again, I liked a lot about this film, was, and this is going to sound like a weird one, but I kind of wish that we had gotten to the ending of part one a little sooner. Like we could have, like, there could have been less time focused on the academy or the school and more time kind of focusing on, like, the world beyond the school, if that makes sense. So, but I get it. This is a part one. So, and I really liked part one. So, now, what part two is going to hold, we don't know. When part two comes out, I don't know at the time of this recording. I'm not a wizard. I can't see into the future. I don't hide behind a curtain and, just like, wow, I can answer everything with smoke screens and all that. But, I really did like this. I did. I wouldn't say it's my favorite musical of all time, but you know what? I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind. If a friend wanted to watch this or go see it, I wouldn't, like, decline the offer. I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's go see it in Broadway or on a stage or something. Or yeah, we'll rent it on TV or watch it on a streaming service again. I don't mind putting it on again, right? Like, I'm fine with that. I liked it, and there's stuff I actually do enjoy about the film. But it just, for a really big musical, and with this being a two-parter, this could have been trimmed down a bit. It could have been tweaked. So, but still a fantastic film. Definitely worth watching if you have not watched it. Believe it or not, at the time of this recording, it is still in theaters too. So if you wanted to go check it out for yourself at Cinergy Entertainment, I suggest you do so. Buy a ticket. Go get yourself, some snacks. Play a few games. If you're 21 or older, get yourself maybe a drink or two to watch with the film. And, enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. Go see it at Cinergy Entertainment. So, and special thanks to Cinergy for inviting us out to the VIP Elite experience. It was fun. So, I enjoyed it. And I had a great time with, like I say, meeting new friends, checking out the film, wearing my cool wizard hat, winning some free movie tickets, and just being, plopped into that sort of specific fandom, even for just a few hours, just to sort of experience it. So, that about does it for this review, and / this episode of Remember the Time. And, See y'all for the next one. Bye-bye.